Berlin, April 1945. Beneath the ruins of a shattered city, Soviet soldiers uncovered a burned body near a concrete bunker. The face was gone. The teeth were examined. The identity was confirmed. The man who once shook the world with his voice
als die Verbindung zum deutschen Volk. Und für mich ist
is now a ghost. The corpse belonged to Adolf Hitler. The man who had dragged the world into war. The man whose orders led to the murder of millions. The man who, in the end, destroyed his own nation. But this man was not always a monster. He was once a quiet child, a struggling artist, and a decorated soldier. So how does a nobody become a nightmare? How does a homeless beggar rise to command millions? How does one voice turn fear into obedience? How does law empower evil? A man who felt the world owed him everything and gave him nothing. He was built piece by piece by a broken society, a vengeful political climate, and a system that chose to look the other way. April 20th, 1889, Braunau am Inn. Within the rigid borders of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a child is born into a system that knows only two states: total control and total submission. This was the world of young Adolf, a home where the air was heavy with the obsession of his father, Alois Hitler. Violence and obedience. These were the only languages spoken within those walls. Before Adolf Hitler ever understood a political platform, he mastered the system's most dangerous lesson, that power is not earned through merit, but seized through dominance and strength. Power was measured by the piles of those you had forced to obey. Hitler's childhood is the story of a clash between two systems: the rigid, violent authority of his father and the protective and shielding love of his mother. His schooling began with no signs of brilliance. Only friction, academic rebellion, early radicalization, and teachers' authority was never accepted. Yet one idea survived the chaos: not dominance, not authority, but the fragile hope that art could offer a way out and a possible escape from the world closing in around him. Soon he lost his father. A sense of relief. Not long after, he left for Vienna, convinced that talent would be enough. But things didn't turn out as expected. He was rejected by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. He tried again, but got rejected again. The message from the world was loud and clear: you are not good enough. Hitler fell into poverty. He slept in shelters. He begged. He felt invisible. Vienna was full of political hatred at the time. Anti-Semitism was common. Nationalism was loud. A lot of ideas to be absorbed and influenced. He was soaking in the propaganda around at that time. The seeds of nationalism and violence were planted, but he was still just a frustrated man in a flophouse. He needed a catalyst to support his ideas. And then came war, not as chaos, but as that catalyst required by Hitler. Hitler joined the German army. A uniform gave him something he never had. For the first time in his life, his existence carried weight. Pride filled the void. He felt proud. He was no longer invisible. When Germany lost the war in 1918, Hitler was devastated. Germany was blamed, punished, and humiliated by the Allies. Hitler believed Germany was betrayed, not by its enemies, but from within: Jews, socialists, and politicians. This lie became the foundation of everything that followed. After the war, Germany was collapsing. The economy was destroyed. Inflation made money worthless. People were desperate. This was when dangerous voices filled the air. Hitler entered a small group called the German Workers' Party. At first, he had no name, no influence, no presence. But he could speak. He could shape anger. He didn't have power yet, but he already knew who to blame. His speeches were simple. Germany is a victim. Jews are to blame. Democracy is weak. A strong leader will save us. These claims were false, but they felt real to people who were suffering. The Workers' Party soon became the Nazi Party. Hitler became its leader. In 1923, he led armed supporters in Munich, bullets and threats replacing ballots, attempting to overthrow the Bavarian government. The rebellion failed. He was arrested and was sent to prison. He was given a light sentence in a comfortable cell where he wrote Mein Kampf. He poured everything into words. Hatred, racism. Every grievance became a grievance of the nation. Every failure became a conspiracy. Jews were cast as enemies of Germany. Democracy was mocked as weakness. Strength, power, domination. These were his gospel. It was a blueprint, not for one man's revenge, but for a nation's destruction. A warning was there, written in ink, but the world refused to read it. After prison, Hitler changed tactics. He used elections, propagandas, fear. But world around him was already crumbling. The Great Depression had struck. Millions were out of work. Hunger spread. Desperation filled the streets. In a nation gripped by fear and desperation, the Nazis entered the scene. They offered more than politics. They promised certainty. In 1933, Nazis' party came to power. They hunted enemies, blaming Jews, communists, and anyone who resisted. And by then, Hitler being the leader of the party, the man who had once been ordinary no longer existed. Conservative politicians thought they could tame him by making him chancellor. But they were wrong. Once Hitler became chancellor, everything shifted. Laws were rewritten to concentrate power in his hands. Political opponents were banned, arrested, or intimidated, and within months, democracy was destroyed. Opposition was banned, media was controlled. Germany no longer had a government, it had a dictatorship. With full power, Adolf Hitler was no longer just a speaker. He was the central decision-maker of Nazi Germany. For the first time, the system gave him a uniform and a job. He wasn't a hero, yet even this small recognition came with decorations on his uniform, and for the first time, he understood the power of authority and the validation of belonging. Every major action of the regime flowed from his ideology. He approved it. He encouraged it. He demanded loyalty to it. Hitler believed the world was a racial struggle. In his view, history was a fight between the strong and the weak. At the core of this belief was hatred of Jews. Hitler did not see Jews as people. He described them as a threat to Germany's survival. This language came directly from his speeches and writings. Under his leadership, hate became law. The Nuremberg laws stripped Jews of citizenship. Marriages were banned. Rights were erased. This was not chaos. It was organized. It was planned. Hitler understood the power of image and emotion. He personally approved propaganda themes. He demanded total loyalty. Children were taught to worship him. The media repeated his message daily. Fear and admiration were tools. Truth was the enemy. In 1938, Hitler allowed violence to explode. There came two nights in the history books remembered as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, where synagogues were set on fire, Jewish homes and businesses smashed, and thousands were arrested. Destruction was encouraged, not punished. Police stood aside. The message was clear. Violence against Jews was acceptable in Hitler's Germany. Then came war. For Hitler, war was never accidental, it was planned. He believed Germany had been humiliated in World War I. He wanted to expand east, take land, and create Lebensraum for Germans, which was the expansionist blueprint. Hitler viewed the world as a rigid system of competing races where a nation must either expand or perish. For him, war was a way to restore pride, crush enemies, and enforce his vision of racial supremacy. In 1939, Hitler personally ordered the invasion of Poland. This decision began World War II. It was not defensive, it was expansion. As German forces moved east, mass killings followed. The genocide did not happen by accident. Hitler approved the idea of total elimination of Jews. He used speeches to encourage it. He created an environment where murder was rewarded. Death camps were built. Trains were scheduled. This was the Holocaust. World War II did not kill only Jews, though the Holocaust claimed 6 million lives. Millions more perished across Europe and beyond. Poles, Russians, Roma, the disabled, political opponents, and countless civilians caught in the crossfire. Entire cities were reduced to rubble. Economies collapsed. Families were uprooted. By the war's end, tens of millions were dead, and the world was left scarred, reshaped, and haunted by the scale of destruction. By the end of it all, the man who had once been ordinary, frustrated, and overlooked had become Hitler, the Führer. He was the architect of war, the orchestrator of genocide, the symbol of a world brought to its knees. His decisions, his ideology, his cruelty had reshaped continents, toppled governments, and destroyed millions of lives. The Holocaust, the firestorms, the endless bloodshed, they were all consequences of one man's vision made real. And yet, even with all his power, Hitler was mortal. He died in 1945 in an underground bunker in Berlin with only his newly married wife beside him, as the world he tried to dominate finally turned against him. Adolf Hitler was the product of a series of catastrophic, systemic failures that transformed a traumatized individual into a global tyrant. His character was first warped by a domestic system of extreme paternal violence and rigid obedience, then further radicalized by the industrialized slaughter of the World War I military system, which taught him that dominance is the only measure of strength. The world ignored his early obsession with control, the clear blueprints of destruction in his ideology, and the rising propaganda and human silence that allowed his radicalization to go unchecked. He was allowed to dominate because the socio-economic collapse of the post-war German system created a vacuum of power, while the broken system provided the perfect fuel for his exploitation of societal fear and mass suffering. History shows us that villains are not born. They are the fallout of systems that fail to protect the vulnerable and reward the aggressive. Stay curious, remain vigilant, and stay ahead of the patterns that allow history to repeat itself.